What up? This is Andy from Umami Friends, and I'm just making a quick tutorial on like setup and just a few sample hands and stuff like that. I'll make a better video really soon and have just like a more professionally edited one, but I've had a lot of inquiries on Tabletop Simulator and stuff like that, so I just want to show you guys how to set up and play real fast. So there are 4 decks in Umami Friends. So we have common recipes, rare recipes, an ingredient deck, and character decks. So we're gonna separate out all those, and then we'll just set these down here. So I'll move this out of the way for now. And we'll look at the common recipes. So common recipes, if you can see, there are different types of recipes. So we're gonna sort each one into its respective pile. So we'll get all of these healthy snacks together. And if you can see, the healthy snack is a basic plant. So that is a green triangle up in that top left corner. You'll see the umami points and the card. This is what the card can be used as a component in a recipe. And then this is how many umami points it's worth. So we're gonna lay these out into piles, and this will be our store to buy recipes from. So I'm just gonna start doing that right now. And we'll have 5 piles across, and we'll have 4 down by the time we're done setting up. Next up, you see these are advanced plant recipes. So that's the little pentagon symbol up there. These are gonna go right below the pile right there. So we'll do like that. Next up are the spicy ones. So again, we'll put the all the spicy ramens, these spicy basics all together. And then next up we have these advanced spicy ones, the hot pot. So we're just gonna keep on doing this. We'll have, this is burger type. Put those out. Here we have Omegaburger. And I'm just gonna keep on laying them out. So these are the piles that you buy from. So when you have these prerequisite ingredients, then that means that you can pick up one of these recipes from the store. So this will be the same layout every single game. There's a couple different game modes that'll determine, there'll be a few different things, but this is always a constant. These will always all be out in piles. And then the last one here is Toy Scream. So again, we have all the basic recipes. So in the top left, all the triangles laid out, and then all the advanced in this next row. And then we have plant, spicy, burger, taco, and sweet. Cool. All right, so next up we have this rare recipe deck, the blue back. So unlike these common recipes, which are all sorted out by piles, these rare recipes will be totally just shuffled up here. So we're just have these all mixed together. No order. Some are duplicates, like there's multiple tofus in the deck, whereas some there's just only one, like this Omegaburger. But yeah, we're just gonna shuffle all these guys together. And then we lay these out differently based on the game mode. So we're gonna leave 2 rows of card space here. And we're gonna put this deck face up. Then we have ingredient cards here. And this is what we hold in our hand to start the game and buy a lot of recipes and things like that. We'll have that right next to it. And then we'll have a little discard pile for the ingredient cards here. So we're gonna take a look at these. These are character cards. So we pick one of these at the beginning of the game, and each card has a unique ability. They'll also have umami points in the next edition, but we just pick one, and besides getting a unique ability, it also determines what recipe you start with. This will be a lot more clear on the future cards, but in the corner they all say what recipe they start with. So we're gonna pick FRONK. His ability is double FRONK burger, and he starts with a fancy burger. So I'm gonna have a fancy burger to start. For the tutorial mode, when we're just getting used to the game, there will be no rare recipes out at the start. We just have these common recipes. And this helps new players kind of visualize what they should be going for. At the beginning, you really only have resources for the common recipes in the top row. So it just makes it a little easier to look at. And then on the end of every player's turn, we just take the top card of the rare recipe and we put 1 out like that. So at the end of my turn, we would have tofu out. And then at the end of my opponent's turn, we would put out this one. And then when it's back to my turn, and so on and so on. And we do that until there are 5 recipes out. So we're keeping the store a little bit more limited, so we can even move these up. So this is just kind of a tighter setup. There's a little less stuff to look at. It's a little easier for beginners. And because of that, we'll also change the win condition. Typically, default is 30 points, and for the tutorial setup, we'll do 20. So then the discard pile goes right there, and that is the finished setup. And then I just put my cards down on the board in front of me there. So for the competitive rule set, we're just gonna take this rare recipe deck, and we just put out 1 of each card to lay out for a store of 10 rare recipes. And these are the cards that will change the board state every single game. They're typically pretty good cards. You kind of want to go for them. So you kind of look at what's out here, and a lot of the time that will determine your strategy. So that's how to set up competitively. And then at the beginning of the game, each player gets 1 strikeout. So they can pick a card that they don't want the opponent to maybe get to, or one that they don't want to see on the board, and they can get rid of it. So let's say I don't want Massive Burrito. We'll get rid of him. And then we'll put out the next one. And then let's say my opponent doesn't want Great Leaf, get rid of him. And we can put out the Spice Cream. So that's the competitive setup. If you're playing with egg DLC, so this will probably be in one of the booster packs. Basically eggs, you can trade in any 2 ingredients from your hand, and on your turn you can just pick up an egg. Egg will end up going into your hand, and it will be worth a rainbow circle here. And anyways, I just wanted a little quick side note. If you're playing with eggs, there are 3 in the deck currently. They will just permanently take up one of the rare spots. So you can just put the eggs right here, almost pretend like it's a common recipe. They'll just go right down. And then just same thing, if you pick up an egg, it'll go in your hand. And then when you spend it as an ingredient, it'll just go right back in that pile. And it's just a permanent card stack out there. For draft pick setup, the final mode, we'll be choosing which rares that we want to put out on the board. So same thing as tutorial mode, none of the rares start out. But then at the end of my turn, we pick up 2 cards, and I get to choose from one of these. So let's say I decide I want to put Tamale Twins out. So we'll put that out, and then Taco Salad will go back underneath this pile. And then on my opponent's turn, they'll draw 2. Let's say they want Pad Thai out. That'll go out into the store, and then that'll go. And we'll do that until there are 10 cards, meaning a full store out, or the game ends, one or the other. Since you get to choose which cards you want out, a lot of the time you can kind of set up your strategy, so that can be really fun for a lot of players. Okay, so the goal of Umami Friends is to get to 30 Umami points right here. So we buy these recipes with the recipe cost. So if I have 1 burger and 3 sauce type circles, then I can pick up Fancy Burger. When I pick up Fancy Burger, he'll go down on my board, and I own that recipe now. Since I'm FRONK, I start with the Fancy Burger. We'll get into that later. And we'll just go through a little sample turn here. So we can look at my hand here. So these are ingredient cards, and they come from this deck here. And at the beginning of your turn, you just look to see if you have any of these sweet ingredients. If you have those, they automatically just come out of your hand and they go down on your board. We'll explain that more later. And now it's the beginning of my turn. At the beginning of your turn, you have 1 action. So there are 4 different things that I can do on a turn. And we'll go through all those. So the first action that I can do is draw 3 cards. There we go. Now I have no more actions. Now it's the end of my turn. In Umami Friends, you have a max refresh hand size, meaning at the end of your turn, you go to the same amount of ingredients in your hand, regardless of what you are at currently. So since I just drew 3, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now it's the end of my turn. I would have to discard 2 ingredients. So I would say get rid of 2 of these. There we go. That would be the end of my turn, and now I picked up a bonus sweet card there. Action 2 is I can take 1 card out of my hand and I can place it just down on my board. So I can put down this ingredient, and I have a pepper down here now. Now that's the end of my turn. I redraw. So again, we end at 5 at the end of our turn. So I would draw 2 more cards, just like that. And then that would be my turn. Now I have these cards to use, and I can use him in conjunction together at any time. So I'd be able to spend this card and this card, say, and trade them in for a recipe. The last 2 things that I can do, and we'll group them up, is we can buy a recipe or use a character ability. So in order to buy a recipe, I have to have the cards that correspond to the cost. So here there's 2 green circles. So I have 2 green circles. So I can trade in these 2 and put them down. Now I own this card. So as soon as you pick up the card, whatever it says here happens. Sometimes there's passive abilities, which last for the rest of the game. We'll get into that later. But it says all other players draw a +1 card. So I would give my non-existent opponent a card. And now I own this card. So it's worth 1 umami point, but also it's worth a green triangle. And green triangle is a component. So that is a basic plant component. And that would count for using as an ingredient in, or using this recipe in a bigger recipe in the future. So you can see something like garden salad costs 3 green triangles. So if I had 3 of these, I would be able to trade in these and pick up the garden salad. Now, if you see here, there's this little symbol in the bottom right-hand corner, and we're calling this energy. So energy determines whether you get to go again or not. So if the card has this symbol, that means I get to go again. So I just picked this up, that goes down to my board. And let's see, I have 2 more green circles, so I can actually trade these in. And we can get another one of these. So again, I traded in my 2 green circles, it's worth 1 umami point, and then all other players draw a card. So give my opponent a card. And now I put that down. I don't have any more cards in my hand. If I wanted to, say, buy a recipe with these 2, I could, but that'll just be the end of my turn. And now, since I don't have any cards and I redraw, I will redraw to 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. And there's my new hand. So, turn number 2 now. My opponent went. Now it's back to me. Again, at the beginning of your turn, for no action cost, if you have any of these pink cards, they automatically come out. They go down on your board, just like that. Now it's the beginning of my turn. Let's see, I have 2 more green circles, so let's do that again. We'll get those 2. Oops. We'll pick up this healthy snack. There we go. My opponent, again, gets the card for the ability. I have this extra card. We'll just set this aside for now. So now I have 3 green triangles. We'll trade these in. And we will get the garden salad. So he's worth 3 points, that thing. And now it says max refresh +1. All their players draw +2 ingredients. So my opponent will get 2 cards. So at max refresh +1, this is passive, means that now for the rest of the game, or as long as I have garden salad on my board, I get to redraw to my default max hand size, which is 5, but then I get +1, so I get to redraw to 6. So this card still has energy, so I still get to go again. I really only have this card left, so there's really only one logical thing that I could do, which is put this down. Remember that that takes an action. So now, those are the cards that I have. And now my hand's empty. That's the end of my turn. So now I get to draw to 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. See? Now I have 6 cards to work with. So sweet cards, I can buy. I can trade in my sweets for an ice cream if I have 4 of them. But I don't. So another thing that I can do with these is trade them in for an energy. So sweet is the only type that can do that. So if I look, I don't really like the cards that I have. Let's use my first action to draw 3. And I go, oh look, 1, 2, 3, 4 tacos for a taco party. But I don't have any actions. So I can take these at any time if I have 3 sweets, and I can trade them in. Now I get to go again. So now I can buy my recipe. So here are my 4 tacos. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm gonna trade these in. And it is a taco party. So I get that. Goes down on my board. Let's rearrange these. And then this ability says, take an ingredient from your opponent's board and add it to your board. So we'll pretend like my opponent has a card on his board. Woohoo, I get another spaghetti. There. So we put that down. Taco Party does not have an energy, so that's the end of my turn. And I have 5 cards. So from Garden Salad, I get to redraw to 6. And there we go. I can spend cards from my hand and my board together. So say spicy and noodle together. And I can pick up the spicy ramen. There we go. Cool. That's my turn. Like that. Okay. So now we're going to put it all together. So I really want to pick up Omegaburger here. Upon pickup, win the game. Seems pretty good. It costs 2 advanced burgers, burgers and pentagons. Pentagons are advanced, and 4 sauce. So if I look at my board here, I have 1 pentagon here, and I have 4 sauce, but I'm missing the last advanced burger here. So if I look at the store, I'm trying to see what has a what could possibly have an advanced burger. So again, if I could just get another mega burger, I just need 3 triangles to get it. So I have 2 triangles here, so I just need 1 more triangle to win the game. So what do I need to do? If you look, I have 2 triangles of any color, and tofu costs 2 plain triangles. So what this means, these plain triangles or colorless triangles for people who play TCGs and stuff like that, means that I can use any triangle to count for the cost. So I can use a yellow triangle and a green triangle, and they would count as these. So I'm going to trade these in. Triangle, this. Now I pick him up, and then he is worth a wild triangle, which means that I can use him as literally any color basic recipe, which is the triangles in the game. So now I can use these three to pick up Omegaburger. Note that I get to go again because tofu has that symbol. So these two go back up here. Tofu is a rare recipe, so he goes back underneath. As soon as you buy a recipe, this new one comes out on top. But that's not gonna matter because now I have these two and these two. There we go. For that. Woohoo. That. FRONK win. That is. I always forget the outro, so let me just set this up here. So I want to put up a little like graphic for some of the types and terminology, just kind of like a player aid. I'll work on the rulebook more, so there'll be a really big update soon that's just a lot more clear. But yeah, I wanted to get everyone familiarized. I'll put a link to the tabletop simulator. That's like currently the best way to play. So I'll put that down below in the description. As always, join the Discord community or the Facebook group. That's kind of where I'm directing people. Otherwise, go to playumami.com. Yeah, I'm really hyped to share. So thank you.